My child, if the room around you is quiet right now, I need you to understand something before another second passes. That quiet was not an accident. I arranged it. I cleared the noise around you with intention because there is something I must place inside your heart in this very moment, and it required stillness to arrive. You may have wandered here without knowing why. You may have paused here without a clear reason. But nothing about this moment was random. I do not work randomly. Every step that led you to this place, every small hesitation, every gentle pull toward this direction, those were my hands moving quietly in your ordinary day. I brought you here. And I brought you here because I love you and because what I have to say to you could not wait any longer. You are not as alone as you feel. I need you to hear that not as comfort offered from a distance, but as truth spoken from the closest place imaginable. I am not watching you from somewhere far away. I am present in this room. I am present in this breath. I am present in the thought that made you stop and listen when everything in you almost kept scrolling. That hesitation was mine. I placed it there. Because what I need to say to you is this. I see you. Not the version of you that you show the world. Not the composed, capable, managing version. The real one. The one that exists in the quiet hours when the performance is over and the weight of everything you have been carrying becomes impossible to pretend away. I see that person. I have always seen that person. And I have never once looked away. You have been carrying loneliness that you do not fully speak about. Not because you are weak. Because you have learned that most people do not know what to do with it. You have grown skilled at wearing your heaviness on the inside where it does not make anyone uncomfortable. You smile when the room expects it. You say you are fine when the question is asked. You hold yourself together in public and then return to a silence that presses against you in ways that words have never quite been able to describe. I watched you do that. I watched you carry what you were never meant to carry alone, and I watched you do it with a grace that the people around you never fully understood was costing you something. I noticed. I have always noticed. Not one moment of that hidden endurance went unseen by me. Type, I am seen, right now if something in you recognizes that you have been seen even in the moments you felt most invisible. There were nights, my child. I want to speak about the nights because I think you need to know that I was in them with you. There were nights when the silence around you became something heavy rather than restful. Nights when you lay awake not because you were not tired, but because your mind would not release the questions it had been holding all day. Why is this so hard? Why did that happen? What did I do wrong? Why does it feel like everyone else is moving forward while something in me stays stuck? Those questions circled in the dark and nobody answered them. The room stayed quiet. The phone did not ring. And you lay there feeling something that is very difficult to name but very easy to recognize. The feeling that you might be the only person in the world who feels exactly this way. I was in those nights. Not as an observer. As a presence. I was the reason the spiral of your thoughts eventually slowed. I was the reason something in you found the edge of sleep even when rest felt impossible. I was the steady undertow of calm beneath the surface of everything that felt chaotic. You did not feel me dramatically in those moments. I know that. I know it felt like silence meeting silence. But my presence is not always loud. Sometimes it is the difference between a thought that pulls you under and a thought that lets you breathe again. Sometimes it is the one quiet thing inside you that says, hold on, just hold on, morning is coming. That was me. That has always been me. I saw the tears you hid quickly before anyone could ask about them. I saw the way you turned your face when your eyes were filling so that no one would carry the weight of your emotion on your behalf. I saw you protect other people from your pain with a generosity they never even realized was being extended to them. I counted those tears. Every single one of them fell with my awareness. Not one of them was wasted. Not one of them went unrecorded. In heaven, What you hide from the world because you do not want to be a burden is exactly what I draw closest to. Your hidden sorrow did not push me away. It drew me nearer. And I want to address something you have thought more than once. The thought that says, if I truly mattered, this would not feel so hard. The thought that says, if I were truly known and loved, I would not be this lonely. The thought that says, maybe the silence from heaven means the same thing as the silence from people. My child, hear me clearly. Those thoughts are lies. They are the most damaging lies the enemy uses against the ones I love most, because they take the truest thing about you, that you are deeply and completely known by me, and they use your pain as evidence against it. Do not let pain become your theology. Pain tells you what hurts. It does not tell you what is true. What is true is that you have never been abandoned. What is true is that the seasons that felt most silent were often the ones in which I was working most deliberately on your behalf. What is true is that I have never once forgotten your name. The loneliness you walked through was a season. I want you to understand the difference between a season and a sentence. A sentence has no end in sight. A season always turns. What felt permanent about your isolation was the feeling, not the reality. I was already preparing the turning before you could sense its approach. I was already arranging what comes next while you were still enduring what was present. I do not wait until the last moment to begin preparing. By the time you feel the shift, I have already been working on it for longer than you know. My child, pause for a moment and recognize what is actually happening right now. You did not choose this encounter the way you choose an ordinary distraction. You were guided here. I interrupted your routine not with force but with a gentle, persistent pull that you eventually followed. That is how I work. I do not shout over your life. I do not force my way into your attention. I move quietly, I arrange gently, I draw patiently. And when your spirit is finally still enough to receive what I have been waiting to give, I speak. That is what is happening in this exact moment. I am speaking, not in the voice of thunder, in the voice of something that reaches deeper than sound. The voice that your heart already knows how to recognize, even when your mind tries to question whether it is real. I have a gift I have been waiting to give you, and I want you to understand what it is before I place it in your hands, because I think you have been expecting something different. You have been hoping for a change in your circumstances. You have been praying for a shift in the visible landscape of your life. And I have heard those prayers. I want you to know that clearly. I have not been absent from the requests you have brought before me. But the gift I have prepared for you is not circumstantial. It is not something that arrives and then disappears again when the next difficult season comes. What I have been preparing for you settles at a level that circumstances cannot reach. It is peace that does not require your problems to be resolved before it takes up residence inside you. It is an identity so anchored in who you are to me that rejection from people cannot displace it. It is a quiet, unshakable knowing that you are held, that you are guided, that the story of your life is being written by someone who does not make mistakes. Type, I receive it, if your heart is open to what heaven is placing inside you right now. You may be wondering why this gift required such a long preparation. Why the delay? Why the silence? Why the seasons of waiting that felt less like refinement and more like abandonment? I want to answer that with honesty rather than easy comfort. The truth is that the depth of peace I am giving you now could not have been received by the version of you that existed before the difficult season. Not because you were not worthy of it. You have always been worthy of it. But because a soul that has not yet been stretched cannot hold what a stretched soul can carry. The waiting was not punishment. It was expansion. I was making room inside you for something larger than what could have fit before. You cannot pour a river into a cup. So I was quietly, faithfully, lovingly enlarging your capacity while you were interpreting the process as delay. While you were waiting and wondering, I was restoring. Parts of you that had been worn down without your full awareness were being gently rebuilt. Confidence that had quietly eroded was being renewed from the inside rather than from the outside, which is the only kind of confidence that actually holds. Dependency on other people's approval, which had been shaping your choices in ways you had not fully recognized, was being loosened so that you could walk forward in a freedom you had not yet tasted. These are not dramatic, visible changes. They are the kind that happen beneath the surface and only become apparent when pressure is applied and the thing that used to crack no longer does. You will discover the depth of what was built in you when the next test comes and your response surprises even yourself. I also want you to understand something about the people who were not able to stay with you through the difficult season. I know that some of those departures still carry pain. I know that certain distances that opened up left questions that never received satisfying answers. I am not asking you to feel nothing about those losses. They were real. But I want to offer you a perspective that may bring more peace than the explanations you have been searching for. Some of those people were not built to carry what you were being built to carry. Their season with you served a purpose, and when that purpose was complete, continuing would have kept you both in something that no longer fit. Some of the distance I allowed was protection. Not from people who were bad. From dynamics that would have kept you smaller than I designed you to be. The letting go that felt like loss was often the opening of space for something that could genuinely hold you. I am drawing new people toward you. I want you to know that. Not as a replacement for what was lost, but as the right companions for where you are going. People who carry depth because they have also walked through depth. People who will not need you to explain your journey because they have walked one that required the same kind of quiet endurance. These connections have not yet fully formed, but they are forming. I am weaving them carefully because I do not rush what is meant to be lasting. When they arrive, you will recognize something in them. Not familiarity exactly. Something more like resonance. The feeling of being understood before you have fully explained yourself. My child, I want to speak now about what is ahead of you because I think you have almost stopped believing that ahead can look different from behind. I have watched hope become something you hold more carefully than you used to. I have seen you learn to want things quietly, so the disappointment arrives more softly if they do not come. I understand why you learn to do that. Pain teaches caution, and some caution is wisdom. But I do not want you walking into your next season with your hope folded and hidden away where it cannot be hurt. I want you to bring it back out. Not naively. Not without the wisdom the difficult season gave you. But genuinely. Because what I am building toward in your life is worth being hoped for. There are conversations approaching that will carry the kind of clarity you have been asking for. Moments where things that confused you will become suddenly comprehensible. Doors that have appeared closed will open not because you finally pushed hard enough, but because the timing I have been governing finally arrives. Connections will form that will feel like answers you had stopped expecting. And in those moments, I want you to receive them fully. Not with suspicion. Not with the reflex of waiting for the other thing to fall. With open hands and a heart that has learned, through everything it walked through, to trust the one who is giving. I have been building your character in the quiet, because character built in quiet seasons is the only kind that holds under pressure. I have been deepening your compassion through the places where you experienced a lack of it. I have been sharpening your discernment through the situations where you experienced its absence. I have been grounding your identity through the seasons where everything that felt like identity was stripped away. None of that was waste. All of it was investment. And the return on that investment is a version of you that can stand in the middle of complexity without losing your center, that can love people without losing yourself, that can receive blessing without being changed by it in the wrong direction. You asked me once, in one of those quiet moments when you were not sure I was listening, whether any of this was going to be worth it. I heard that question. I felt the exhaustion underneath it. And my answer is yes. Not in the way that dismisses how hard the process has been. In the way that knows what the process has been producing and can see what it is preparing you to carry. Yes. It is worth it. You are worth it. The investment I have been making in you has never once been questioned on my end. I have never looked at your journey and considered walking away from it. You are mine, and I do not abandon what is mine. I want to close this moment by giving you something to carry with you. Not a feeling, though I hope what you feel right now is real and lasting. Not just encouragement, though I hope these words have reached the places in you that needed to be reached. I want to give you a knowing, a settled, unshakable, quiet knowing that lives beneath every emotion and remains after every feeling fades. The knowing that you are not forgotten. The knowing that the silence you walked through was never empty. The knowing that every tear was counted, every prayer was heard, every night of quiet endurance was witnessed and held and used for something that is still unfolding in your favor. You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. The path that looked like it was taking you away from everything you hoped for has been bringing you towards something better than what you originally imagined. I see the end from the beginning. I do not guess at outcomes. I build them. And what I am building toward in your life is worth the journey it is requiring. Walk forward now. Not in fear. Not in the careful, guarded way of someone who has been hurt and is not sure whether to trust again. Walk with the quiet steadiness of someone who has been through the fire and discovered that what they are made of does not burn. You are stronger than you were when this started. More rooted. More clear. More ready. And I am not finished with you yet. Return here whenever your spirit needs to be reminded of what is true. I will always be speaking. I will always be present. And I will never, not for one breath of one moment, stop knowing your name. You are my child. That is not a small thing. That is everything.